The Lord governs the hells. In the earlier discussion of heaven, it was made clear throughout that the Lord is the God of heaven, and that the whole government of the heavens is in the Lord's hands. Since the relationship of heaven to hell and of hell to heaven is like that of two opposites that act against each other, the action and reaction of which yield the state of equilibrium within which everything exists. In order for absolutely everything to be kept in this balance, it is necessary that the ruler of the one be the ruler of the other as well. That is, unless the same Lord controlled the attacks of the hells and restrained their madness, the balance would be destroyed. And if the balance were destroyed, everything else would go. First, though, I need to say something about the balance. It is recognized that when two forces act against each other, and when one reacts and resists as much as the other acts and pushes, neither has any force because each has the same amount of power. Then either can be moved by a third force at will, since when the two have no force, because of their equal resistance, the force of the third has total control and acts as easily as if there were no resistance at all. There is this kind of equilibrium between heaven and hell. However, it is not the kind of equilibrium that occurs between two people who are fighting physically, with one just as strong as the other. It is rather a spiritual balance, one of the false against the true and the evil against the good. Malicious falsity constantly breathes forth from hell, and benevolent truth constantly breathes forth from heaven. This is the spiritual balance that provides us with our freedom for thinking and intending, since everything we think and intend depends either on evil and its consequent falsity, or on good and its consequent truth. So when we are in this state of equilibrium, we are in freedom either to let in and accept what is evil from hell and its consequent falsity, or to let in and accept what is good from heaven and its consequent truth. Each of us is kept in this equilibrium by the Lord, who governs both heaven and hell. I will explain later, in a separate chapter, why we are kept in this freedom by means of the balance, and why the evil and the false are not taken away from us by divine power and the good and true instilled. I have sometimes been allowed to sense the aura of malevolent falsity flowing out of hell. It was like a constant effort to destroy everything good and true, united to an anger, a kind of rage at not being able to do so. Especially, it was an effort to destroy the divine nature of the Lord, because this is the source of everything good and true. I have sensed an aura of benevolent truth from heaven, though, that served to restrain the rage of the effort rising up from hell, which yielded an equilibrium. I perceived that the sole source of this aura was the Lord, even though it seemed to be coming from angels in heaven. The reason it comes solely from the Lord and not from angels is that every angel in heaven admits that nothing of what is good and true comes from herself or himself, but that it all comes from the Lord. All the power in the spiritual world belongs to benevolent truth, and none whatsoever to malevolent falsity. The reason all power belongs to what is good and true is that the essential divine nature in heaven is divine good and divine truth, and all power belongs to the divine. Malevolent falsity has no power because all power belongs to benevolent truth, and there is no benevolent truth in malevolent falsity. This is why all the power is in heaven and none in hell. Everyone in heaven is focused on what is true for the sake of the good, and everyone in hell is focused on what is false for the sake of what is evil. This is because no one is let into heaven until she or he is focused on what is true for the sake of good, and no one is cast into hell until she or he is focused on what is false for the sake of what is evil. In support of this, see the chapters where I dealt with our first, second, and third states after death, and on benevolent truth possessing power. See the chapter on the power of heaven's angels. This, then, is the balance between heaven and hell. People in the world of spirits are in this balance. since the world of spirits is halfway between heaven and hell. So too, we in the world are kept in the same kind of balance, since the Lord governs us in the world by means of spirits in the world of spirits, a subject I shall deal with below in a separate chapter. This kind of balance would not be possible unless the Lord ruled both heaven and hell and regulated both. Otherwise, malicious falsity would cross the boundaries and affect the simple, good people who are in the outmost parts of heaven, people who are more easily misled than actual angels. This would destroy the balance, and with the balance would go our freedom. Like heaven, hell is differentiated into communities. In fact, there are just as many communities in hell as there are in heaven, since each heavenly community has an opposite number in hell for the sake of the balance. However, the communities in hell are differentiated according to their evils and consequent falsities, because the communities in heaven are differentiated according to their goodwill and consequent truths. We may be sure that there is some evil opposite to everything good and some falsity opposite to everything true, from the fact that nothing exists without a relationship to its opposite. The opposite enables us to know its actual nature and level. Opposition is the source of all perception and sensation. This is why the Lord is constantly taking care that every community of heaven has its opposite in some community of hell, and that there is a balance between them. Because hell is differentiated into as many communities as heaven is, there are also as many hells as there are communities of heaven, as each community of heaven is a heaven in smaller form. So each community of hell is a hell in smaller form. Because there are 3 heavens overall, there are also 3 hells overall. There is a deepest hell that is opposite to the inmost or 3rd heaven. There is a middle hell that is opposite to the middle or 2nd heaven. And there is a highest hell that is opposite to the outmost or 1st heaven. I need to explain briefly how the hells are governed, though. Overall, the hells are governed by a general impingement of divine good and divine truth from the heavens, through which the general effort that flows out of the hells is restrained and controlled. There is also a specific impingement from each heaven and from each community of heaven. Specifically, the hells are governed by means of angels who are given the ability to look into the hells and check the insanities and riots there. Sometimes angels are sent there, and their very presence brings matters under control. In general, though, all the people in the hells are governed by their fears, some by fears sown and still in place from the world. However, since these fears are not adequate and gradually weaken, they are governed through fears of punishment, which are the primary means of preventing them from doing evil. There are many kinds of punishment there, milder or more severe depending on the evil they are restraining. Most of the time, the relatively malevolent spirits are in power, having gained control by their experience and skill, and they are able to keep the rest in servile obedience by punishments and the fears that these give birth to. These dominant spirits do not dare go beyond fixed limits. We do need to realize that the only way of controlling the violent rages of people in the hells is through fear of punishment. There are no other means. People in the world still believe that there is a devil who rules the hells and that he was created as an angel of light, but was cast into hell with his gang after he led a rebellion. The reason for this belief is that the word talks about the devil and Satan, and about Lucifer as well. And in these cases, the word is understood literally. However, in these passages, the devil and Satan mean hell. The devil means the hell toward the rear, where the worst people live, the people called evil demons. And Satan means the hell that is toward the front, where the less malevolent people live, the people called evil spirits. Lucifer means the people who are from Babel or Babylon, the ones who extend their control all the way into heaven, We can also see that there is no devil to whom the hells are subject from the fact that all the people who are in the hells, like all the people in the heavens, are from the human race, that there are millions there from the beginning of creation to the present day, and that everyone there is the kind of devil he or she became by opposition to the deity while in the world.